when I was about 13, I remember my sister was getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really festive time for me and my family because it was the first daughter that was getting married in like our extended family, and of course the first of my sisters. And she was meant to get married on the 28th of December, 2007. Yes, 7. And the day before the wedding, it was a very strange day because, you know, she was going to get married the next day. We were all rejoicing and spending our last day with her before she became Mrs. So-and-so. And that night, around I think 6 or 7 o'clock, we had family relatives call on us. And while we were with them, you know, everything was fine, everything was great. They were talking about how excited they were that she was gonna get married and like what a beautiful life she would have with this soulmate that she has, and just how amazing the man is to her and how amazing he is to her entire family. And we all praised her and praised him. It was a night of praise. And I was implored to go drop them off to the car, which was parked outside in my garage. So as I was escorting them out, suddenly my sister comes running outside and she's frantic. And she's like, guys, don't go anywhere. And I looked at her and I said, what's wrong? And she said, Benazir Bhutto has been assassinated. She's been shot. Now, a little background for you. Benazir Bhutto was the first woman prime minister of Pakistan and of a Muslim country, of an Islamic republic. And her father, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, was also a very leading politician for Pakistan. ZAB is what we usually call him for short. He was responsible for making Pakistan a nuclear nation and affected a lot of countable change, as did Benazir. So for her to get assassinated was quite shocking. And I remember various news stories. This was in 2007, so Pakistan's media wasn't all that developed as to what it is now, where the news is very like straightforward with you about a lot of things. Back then, in 2007, one news channel was recording that she was in surgery, the other was saying that the shooting was a hoax, the other was saying that she had passed away. So we waited until we could make until the government could declare what was happening. About an hour later, we found out that she had passed away and that the nation was in a state of mourning for 3 days. And so I remember her wedding had to be postponed. And that was a very like, it was the right decision because no one should get married under that cloud. But at the same time, it was definitely, you know, when you're getting married, you obviously just want everything to go right. So for that to have gone wrong was quite discouraging and quite sad, actually. But the next day, very few family members came over, and she had gotten married, very secretive. And I remember it's customed in Pakistan that when your sibling gets married, you have to kind of escort them to their new home. It's a very ancient custom. I don't know where it's derived from, but I remember me and my sister had to go in a car to drop my sister, the bride, and my brother-in-law to their new home. That night, we have never seen Karachi so empty. There was not a car, there was not a motorcycle, there was not a rickshaw, which is a tiny, tiny car, that was on the street that night. Nothing was on the street. If you could imagine a completely empty racetrack, it's what it looked like. And it was maybe the most eeriest feeling you could ever feel. It was just silent. For 3 days, not a single person left their house because they were afraid to. And mostly because the nation they mourned their very first martyr, I feel. For me, it was my first martyr because Benazir was a woman that was more or less a beacon for what women in Pakistan could achieve. She was the first woman prime minister, and she kind of inspired a lot of women to step up and kind of have their voice known. And especially in a male-driven society as ours, where your voice isn't necessarily seen as valid, Benazir shattered that stereotype with her power, her diligence, and of course her constant need to affect change. And sadly that was cut short, and it was definitely a very eerie 3 days to go through.